Hello everyone, welcome to this lesson on forms of business communication. In this unit, we go about studying what are the various aspects of business communication, and you get to know, if you get through the material there, you read about what are the different types of letters, what are the parts and other things there. To begin with, communication takes various forms and it is considered to be a fundamental aspect of human interaction. Now that is what goes about with differentiating us from the animals. Not that they don't communicate, but in a form that we communicate, there are no other creatures which communicates there. Now coming to the different forms of communication, to be very general about communication, and then we move on with the business communication. Now the first thing is to do with verbal communication. Now under this, we have what is called as the spoken communication and the written communication. So under spoken, we use words, we convey messages, and this can occur through face-to-face conversation. We can do phone calls, we can do public speaking, and in written communication, it is by using written words to convey the information, and this includes letters, emails, books, and a lot of other written materials that are there. Now the second aspect is to do with the non-verbal communication. Here we talk about paralanguage or the body language, which includes the gestures, the facial expressions, the posture, and other physical cues that convey the messages without using words. It can involve eye contact, which is considered to be one of the most important element in the body language, which communicates emotions, interest, attention. There are gestures that we make with our hand movements, signals that convey various meanings. The facial expressions that we go about doing, we express emotions through changes in our facial features. The next one is to do with visual communication. It's to do with communicating by using charts, graphs. There are plenty of visual aids. There is a cliche which says that a picture speaks 1,000 words. So here in the visual communication, we do it through graphs and charts to convey complex information. It can be infographics, that is the visual representation of information through data. It can be through photographs, it can be through videos. Now there are a lot of other visual media to communicate messages and stories. Then there is what is called as this digital communication, where we communicate using emails, that is the electronic mail, the written communication, or there could be instant messaging, that is real-time text-based communication that we do over the internet. Or there could be what is called as social media platforms that are there, which enable us to share information, ideas through various platforms. There could be video conferencing, that is virtual face-to-face kind of communication using video technology. Then there could be what is called as this interpersonal communication, that is one-to-one conversation that we do through direct communication between two individuals, or the communication may be between small groups, or there is a small group of people, or when we address larger audience, we call it public speaking. Thus, under interpersonal communication, we talk about one-to-one, small group, and public speaking. Then we look at the formal communication part. Now this is what is the core that we are going to discuss in this unit. It's all about business communication. So here we see the different forms. So this is very formal kind of communication within a professional setting. It includes reports, memos, official documents. It could be legal documents, contracts, agreements, and other legal forms of communication that we have. Now in the informal communication, at times we use a word called grapevine communication there. This is casual conversations that we do in our everyday life, and it is done in a very informal setting. It's very much unlike the business communication where we said it is more of formal communication. This is an informal communication there. At times in offices, there is something called as gossip or informal sharing of information. At times it may have proof or evidence, and without that also people keep adding things and sharing. It's one of the harmful modes that you have, which we call it as gossip. Then the other one is to do with mass communication, where we go about it sharing information, knowledge, ideas through television, radio broadcasting. Now this is wherein we reach larger audience through the broadcast media. There is the other one under mass communication, which is to do with the print media, where we talk about communicating through newspapers, through magazines, through other printed materials for mass distribution. And today we live in an era wherein we talk about a lot on internet communication. That is, we are able to reach the global audience through various websites or personal websites which are called as blogs, and there are plenty of online platforms through which we convey. Then there is this artistic communication, wherein we talk about visual arts, paintings, sculptures, and other visual forms of expression there. Under this, we also talk about the performing arts. It could be done through dance, theatre, music, which is a means of communication there. There are a lot of expression that they put, and we tend to understand what the performer is trying to convey to us, and that is about the artistic communication. Now, either way, we say that effective communication often involves a combination of these forms, and individuals may adopt their communication style depending on the context and the type of audience. So till now, whatever we have seen, it was to do with the different forms of communication. Now let us get very specific to understand what is business communication. Now, business communication encompasses various forms and channels, each serving specific purposes within the corporate environment. So in business world, every day there is communication happening, communication which happens within the organization, or you communicate to the external world as well. And here we are here to look into some of the various forms of business communication. To begin with, there are emails that we go about using. Now, the purpose of emails are for formal and informal communication. It is about sharing information. It is about sending documents with attachments. It could be to do with coordinating various tasks. The usage part of the business communication is all about internal communication, external communication with clients, with various partners that we do there. And the next form of business communication is through business letters. Let me remind you, your course material that is there is in detail description of what are the various parts of a letter, what is the purpose, how do we do the salutation, what are the contents, how do we end a letter. So we wish that you go about with working on those details there. Maybe in the exam you may be asked to write letters. So these business letters that are there, the purpose of it is formal communication with external entities. It could be clients, it could be suppliers, or it could be any other organization. And the usage of this is about correspondence for official, and at times it could be to do with legal matters as well. Now there are various reports that are there, and in fact the next unit is all about report writing. So one of the modes of business communication is we communicate through writing reports. The purpose of writing a report is conveying a detailed information or analysis of various research findings that are there. So the usage of these reports is for internal consumption, where we say it is internal reporting, or to convey to the external world as to whatever are the findings of the report there, or it could be to the various stakeholders or the various regulatory bodies that are there where the organization is connected or influenced by. And there are meetings that happen of various formats. The purpose of meetings is to discuss ideas, to make decisions, provide updates, and to do brainstorming, probably to go about with evolving with different ideas. The usage of meeting is more about in-person meetings. It could be virtual meetings. It could be conference calls that could be done. This is the other format of the business communication. Then there are different types of presentations that people make. That is conveying information, proposals, or updating visual aids that are there. The presentations may be done in meetings, it could be in conferences, it could be done for imparting knowledge through training sessions. So presentations are very much vital. And then it is about internal newsletters that are there. So when there is some sharing of updates or news or relevant information within the organization, there is newsletters that are there. There are newspapers which are very common, but within the organization, there is newsletters that are being circulated which are called as the internal newsletters. And the internal communication is to keep the employees informed, abreast about whatever is happening in the business within the community there. And then there is this intranet. I mean, what people normally say, this is what has given rise to internet and other things there. This is the internal communication platform for sharing resources, policies, various updates, and the usage of it is seen through company-wide announcements that are made, through document sharing. It could be done through collaboration. So remember, that's to do with the intranet within the organization. Then there could be the social media platforms that are there, which have become very powerful tools of communication. Refer to it, normally we use words like Instagram, Twitter, now we call it with X or it could be to do with WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever things that are there. And that is what we refer to as social media. Now here we talk of external communication. It is used for the purpose of marketing. It is used for engaging customers there. And it's basically to promote products, services, sharing company news, interacting with customers. Then there is this text messaging that is there, which we call it as short messaging, which is to do with SMSs. There is quick, the purpose of this is to share quick, very concise, very pressy kind of communication, and it is often of urgent matters. You can't rely on the other types of business communication, so you want to send what is called as quick messages, concise script messages we do through the text messaging. It is basically done for internal communication. It is for coordinating various tasks. It is for notifying to team members what is expected out of them or passing on some information to them. Then there is this element which is called as video conferencing. Now this is virtual face-to-face communication, which is done through meetings, discussions, connecting with remote teams, client meetings, or various interviews. And then we talk about training material. Now this is basically providing information and training to the employees. There is a thing which we call it as the assessment of training needs, and then what is to be imparted. We believe in what is called as lifelong learning. So there is what is called as learning organizations that are there, which believe that changes are happening at a rapid pace in the marketplaces and people will have to be abreast and updated with the latest things that are there. So in this training material, usually they give what is called as onboarding material. Training manuals are there. Then there are e-learning modules when people go about it, taking through the electronic sources, whatever training is being conducted. Then it could be this business blogs. We talk about websites. We said blog is very personal. But here the business blog, the purpose of it is sharing insights about industry knowledge. It could be company updates, or it could be to do with the external communication. And most often than not, it is about the brand building exercise. You want to enhance the reputation of an organization's brand, and that is what is the purpose where we use business blogs. Then phone calls as usual. These days we talk about toll-free numbers on any product or any service bill that you find there. They say that if there is a complaint, you can always call on this and you wouldn't be charged for it. There is what you call it as the direct communication, which is about clarifying details, discussing issues. So the usage of it is basically for internal communication, or at times you may engage clients or customers through interaction. Today most of them are being outsourced. You have the BPOs or customer care, which take care of customer complaints or whatever issues that they have, addressing it at. It's basically done through phone calls, and today it's more about mobile phones and other things. Then there are these employee handbooks that are there. Now this is a mode of communicating about companies' policies, do's and don'ts, the various procedures and guidelines, and orientation for new employees that is to be given, the process of socialization and other things there, or reference for existing employees. If there is an element of doubt, whether it's to do with leave or work conditions, they can always refer to what the rule book says. So these are things which are mentioned in the employee handbooks. And effective business communication. Now let's get to these two English words that are there. One is about efficiency, and other is to do with the word called effectiveness. Now efficiency is doing the right things, and effectiveness is about doing the right things in a right way. So effective business communication often involves selecting the appropriate form, which is based on the nature of the message, the audience, and the desired outcome. So businesses may use what is called as combination of these forms to ensure clear and efficient communication within the organization and with the various external stakeholders. Now, when it comes to this business writing part of it, it encompasses a variety of written communication which is used within the professional and the corporate environment. There are different types of business writing which serves distinct purposes, and the style and tone may vary based on the intended audience and the nature of the message. Now here what we do is we look into some of the common types of business writing. Now what we have already discussed was emails, which is considered to be quick and concise communication, which is used for sharing information, coordination. There could be formal emails, there could be informal emails, or when people have not answered, to remind them, you may also give what is called as follow-up emails that are there. Then there could be memos. Now the purpose of it is more for internal consumption, and it is within the organization conveying important information. There could be policy memos, there could be procedural memos, or you want to make certain announcements and you do it through the memorandums. And then there are business letters that are there, which are formal communication with the external entities. It could be clients, it could be partners. So you give a covering letter to tell as to what is the purpose of that letter. Or you want to seek something, then you talk about the inquiry letters. Or you want to go about with raising an issue, it could be a complaint kind of letters that are there. And reports, what we would look at, as I said earlier, in detail with the next unit, it is about conveying detailed information, which is done after thorough analysis, research findings there. So there could be various types of research reports, or you prepare what is called as business plans, or there could be what is called as project reports that have been pursued. Now there could be what is called as proposals, which are considered to be persuasive communication tools which suggest a course of action or business arrangement. Project proposals, or there could be partnership proposals where you solicit somebody else to join into your business there, or it could be sales proposals that are there. Now business plans, this is another thing which comes in written form, where we say the purpose of it is outlining what are the goals, what are the strategies, and what are the various financial projections of a business there. Now let's say there could be a startup business plan, there could be an expansion plan, or there could be a strategic plan. When you talk about planning in business, we say it is done at 3 levels. The top management, which we call it strategic, the middle management, which we call it as tactical, and lower level, which we call it as operational. So we have business plans which are being worked out, and there are policy documents which communicate organizational policies, rules, guidelines, what we said a little while ago about employee handbooks, company policies, code of conduct. I mean, it could be to do with within the organization, what is that interpersonal communication, what are the rules, what are the do's, don'ts, all these things come in that detailed policy documents that are there. And then we talk about the procedural manuals, wherein we provide what is called the instructions and guidelines for specific processes and tasks. So it could involve training manuals, it could involve operational manuals. There are standard procedures that are there which are to be followed. I mean, how to start and how to end. I mean, what is that entire rules that you need to stick on to. So there could be what is called as process documentation. It's a kind of a blueprint that is to be adhered to. And then we look for what is called as the minutes of the meeting. Now here, whenever meetings happen, there are books wherein they write down as to what all was discussed, what are the resolutions that they have taken, and what is that they agreed or disagreed upon, and what are the consensus that is developed out of a meeting there. So minute to minute, whatever has happened during the meeting has been recorded, and that book is called as the minutes book. So this is again a written form that you have. So whatever decisions, actions to be taken are being discussed, they're all put on paper in black and white. So usually it is done in board meetings, team meetings. It's all about minutes of the meeting there. And then there is something called as the social media posts. This is basically for the external communication, for purposes of marketing, brand promotion. So what we call it as Twitter in the form of tweets, it's become X now. We talk about Facebook posts or LinkedIn updates and Insta. There's a lot of those things that are there. How you relate your organizational activities to the external world. Then there is this press releases that are there. Now when you want to make an announcement or you want to go about with external world trying to know as to what is happening within your organization about events, about news, about product launches to the media and to the public at large, it is done through press releases. So there are what is called as product launch press releases. Whatever company wants the external world to know, it's all done through what is called as this press releases. Then there is this marketing copy. It is a persuasive communication to promote products or services. And here we talk about advertisements, the product descriptions, the various promotional materials that are there. It's all done through this marketing copy. Then we look for employee communication. Now the internal communication with the employees, keeping them informed. I mean, you do it through employee newsletters, you do it through internal announcements, or the human resources communication that are there. It's all in written format. And then we talk about the grant of proposals. Now you go about it seeking funding or support for a project or an initiative. So people write what is called as research grant proposals. Sometimes it is done by non-profit funding proposals, or you would like to go about seeking donations and money to pursue a project. So the kind of thing that you do is grant proposals. And sometimes you'll have to do what is called as executive summaries that are there. So here what you do is, in management, as we say, there is something called as the management by exception. So you don't carry detailed, voluminous reports to the higher ups. You only draw their attention where their intervention is needed and their decisions matter a lot. So you don't go about with giving them volume, detailed material that is there. You provide what is called as concise summaries of the detailed documents and reports there, and you provide only the key information. And that is where you talk about preparing précis, which are called as the executive summaries for reports, business plans, and various proposals that are there. Now, each type of business writing has its own conventions, has its own expectations, and here effective business writing is to be clear. It has to follow the standard principles of being clear, being concise. You shouldn't beat around the bush, and it should be tailored to the specific audience and to match the purpose for which the communication is done. If often it adheres to formal tone, structure, but the style can be adjusted based on the context and the relationships that are involved. Now let us look into the aspects once again, a review of what we have done till now to understand what we have dealt with business communication. We said communication takes various forms and it is fundamental of a human interaction. So there is what is called as verbal communication, which involves spoken and written communication. Then there is non-verbal communication, which will involve para-language, which is called as body language, eye contact, gestures, facial expressions. We have learned about visual communication, which is done through graphs, charts, infographics, photographs, and videos. Then we do it through digital communication, which is done through emails, instant messaging, social media, and various video conferencing platforms. Then we do what is called as this interpersonal communication, which is done through one-to-one conversations, small group communication, public speaking. And then formal communication, which is done through business communication and legal documents that are there. And then we said informal communication is through casual conversations or gossips that are being done. And then mass communication, it takes ways of television, radio broadcasting, print media, and internet communication. Then the artistic communication is all about the visual arts, performing dance. So we summarize the various forms by telling that effective communication often involves combination of these forms. Individuals will have to adapt the communication style depending on the context and the type of audience there. And then the business communication, it is said to be very formal, and it has got a whole gamut of things which is for serving specific purposes of corporate environment. And we said it involves emails, it involves business letters, it involves the various types of reports that are being done, and then the meetings which are being conducted, and then it involves the various types of presentations that is made, and then internal newsletters, and about intranet. And then the various social media platforms that are used for external communication, marketing, and with customer engagement. And for text messaging, quick and concise communication is done. And video conferencing, which is more of virtual face-to-face communication, which is done for meetings, discussions. And then material that is provided to keep the workers or the employees abreast with the latest things that are happening in the field. That is where we develop what is called as training material. And then business blogs, which is more about another version of the personal blogs or the websites of the business, which are all very official for sharing insights and industry knowledge and company updates. And phone calls, and I said here wherein we have outsourced or companies, organizations outsources to the various business process outsourcing organizations there. And then we look for employee handbooks for communicating company policies, procedures, and guidelines. And the next part, the focus has been more about business writing. So here we said it is about writing through emails, which are quick and concise, which is sharing and coordination of information that is done. Then there are various memorandums that are being used, or memos as we call it. And then we look for what is called as business letters, which are formal modes of communication with external entities, clients, and partners. And we have various types of reports conveying detailed information analysis or research findings. Now here what happens is you have a problem on hand. You are trying to figure out what are the different sources of trying to solve that problem, and you are trying to go about with doing research on it, probably using primary data, secondary data. You do the analysis, interpret, and present it in the form of reports, which can be readable, understandable, and you can take decisions. We say data is raw, information is processed. Information is something which enables us for decision making. So these reports serve as vehicles of decision making. So there are business plans, there are project reports that have been taken. There could be various proposals that businesses go about with making. This is considered to be a very strong or a persuasive communication which suggests about course of action or business arrangements that we do. Now there could be various business plans outlining what are the goals, strategies, and various things that you do there. Now plan is futuristic. So what you would go about with pursuing in future, you would like to put it on paper, all right? And there is a saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you put out things and plan in a detailed way so that it can be done in a better way. So you have policy documents, which is about communicating organization policies, rules, and guidelines. And then we talk about various procedural manuals that are there. This serve like guides for how to conduct day-to-day aspects of the work, the various processes, tasks. If somebody gets a doubt or someone is not able to figure out something there, they can always bank on this manual as to if how the doubt is to be clarified and other things can be done. And then it is the minutes of the meeting. I mean, recall what Abraham Lincoln once put it, where he said, in meetings, hours get wasted, but minutes have been recorded on the lighter side. But here it is minutes of meeting wherein the documentation. Tomorrow somebody cannot say that, we didn't speak about it or this is something which didn't happen, kind of a thing. There's every minute detail of when meetings are conducted there. All of them get recorded in the book there. And this is where we talk about the minutes of the meeting there. And then we talk about what is called as the social media posts, which is basically for external communication, for marketing, and for brand promotion. So we use various social media vehicles like X, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and a lot of other things there. And then we talk about various press releases that are done to make announcements about events, about product launches, media, and public. And then there is persuasive communication to promote products and services. This is the marketing copy of it there. And then there is this communication which is done with employees, which is for internal communication, keeping them informed through various newsletters and other things there. And there could be grant proposals. So when we seek external funding or when we write to the government, these days we talk about crowdsourcing. We have an excellent solution to a problem and we are trying to figure out as to how do we provide that solution, but we need money for it. So we seek funding to happen, and that is where we go about with soliciting others to provide us funds, and that is to writing proposals there. So this is another persuasive written format of business communication that we have. And then we talk about executive summaries. As I already said, we practice what is called as management by exception. So we don't go about it taking detailed data, but very concise, very precise things that have been carried to the top management wherein their intervention, their experience is needed to solve problems or take decisions there. So this is where executive summaries serve that purpose around. So what we have done all through this unit was we focused on various forms of communication. We said what are the various forms of business communication, and then what are the various forms of written communication. Now in the course material you'll find different types of letters, what are the different elements of the letters, and how you go about with making effective and efficient communication when it comes to day-to-day running of businesses that are there. So that's it from me when it comes to this unit on what is business communication. So until we meet again for the next unit, bye for now.